Thank you for listening to this podcast from TRE, Talk Radio Europe, your voice in Spain and around the world. For more information, please visit tre.radio.
TRE in the afternoon. Presented by Hannah Murray.
Good afternoon. It's just gone 5:05. You are listening to Men Talk. With me in the studio today is Jamie Stonehewer, Steve Holmes and Ben Kavanagh. Hello.
Hello.
Thank you for coming in. If you are listening at home and you want to get involved, you can. Here's how.
To contact TRE, please call 952 78 4000. Email studio@tre.radio. Send us a WhatsApp on +34 645 99 67 95.
What a beautiful day. It's a wonderful life.
Okay, we're starting off by talking about beer and pints of beer. For as long as pubs have been pouring beer, the pint has been the universally accepted serving size. This is in the UK, obviously. But now research suggests that drinkers knock back less in the long term if they are given smaller glasses. In the first trial of its kind, researchers from Cambridge University asked 12 pubs to ditch pint pots in favour of two-thirds servings for 4 weeks. And pub goers drank almost 10% less beer and cider compared to when pints were on the menu. I think that's fascinating.
It's kind of counterintuitive, isn't it? Because you think that you're going to drink at the same speed, so you just drink it quicker, but there's obviously some link with sort of like
how quickly you empty your glass, I guess.
I mean, in Australia they're smaller, aren't they? They have schooners. And they say it's because of the heat.
Yeah, well, it's the same here, isn't it? You know, you very rarely drink a pint here because by the time you get through it, it's gone warm anyway. So you have a canya. You know.
But I mean, do you? I'm going to ask Ben as the professional. Do you find? I mean, most men, I would assume, drink pints in a pub.
Yeah, majority. Yeah. I think there is some truth in it. I think from observational point of view, I can see that it's kind of true because people do tend to drink the same sort of number of drinks, even regardless of the size. Yeah. And there is something to it. Is it the mountain? Is it the challenge? You know, it's in front of you, so you go harder. But if it's a slightly smaller hill, you wouldn't be quite so. I don't know.
It's fascinating. I don't often see many. I mean, again, it shouldn't be a difference of sexes, but I think it definitely is. You know, you definitely see more men drinking pints and more women drinking halves, as opposed to the other way round. But I wonder if it makes a difference if you're in the sunshine compared to in a pub. I reckon more men might have a smaller beer or a bottle of beer if they're in the sun compared to being inside in a pub because of the heat.
Well, definitely. I mean, especially if you're in the UK and you're in a sort of a pub environment and you're drinking beer and not lager,
right?
The pints with the frothy top, etc., it becomes very palatable. So maybe it might be difficult in the UK to cut that down. I don't know.
Yeah,
I was surprised the pubs actually took part in that because that's bad for the pubs. You want to sell as many pints as possible.
Exactly, I thought that's not great for business.
So now they've decided, people drink less if you give them a smaller glass. Well, give them a bigger glass.
Yes, exactly. Let's go back to the pints.
Let's go for the litres like they do in Denmark and
the big steins.
Yeah, that's what you want. You don't want any of this. You don't want any less drink. I read last week about 40 pubs a week shut.
Really, in the UK?
40 pubs a week are shutting in the UK, and that's horrible
sad.
numbers, because they're the social hub of villages,
exactly,
and towns and stuff. So it's scary.
That's very sad.
So drink more pints if you're out there. Drink
This made me smile. When we're having a bad day, what can loved ones do to help? Give us some chocolate, it seems. A study found that a sweet gift gave a bigger lift during tough times than a listening ear.
Yeah.
Can you imagine that would be the case? Whether it's chocolate or a glass of wine, maybe? I don't know. What do you think?
I can see that, yeah. I can see the truth.
Any present gives you a lift, doesn't it?
Somebody
it's a thought, put their arm around you and say, you'll feel better, etc. But give you a present, you feel a lot better.
Yeah, it's true, isn't it? I thought that. I was thinking that. It makes it. We all want. Well, I don't say we all want. As women, we all want a listening ear. Men, maybe not so much, but everyone likes a present.
But it's two forms of therapy, isn't it? It's getting something out or putting something in.
Yeah.
So in the case of chocolate or wine, you're ingesting something to ease the pain, whereas getting off your chest, so to speak, might not be exactly the same feeling, although it is still perfectly valid. Yeah.
Plus the fact you get a sugar rush at the same time.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I was talking about. Men are from Mars, women are from Venus the other day, and it was part of this came. I was referencing part of this from the point of view of one of the big things I remember learning from that book when I read it in the 90s was the difference between men and women if they're upset. The fact that this is all a big generalisation, obviously, but if men are upset, they kind of like to go off on their own, disappear into their man cave and just, whatever. Whereas when a woman's upset, she wants the man to put his arm round her and say, what's wrong? Let's talk about it. Are you okay? Is everything all right? So you tend to do to the other person what you would want to be done to you. No. So when a man's upset, she'll follow him into his man cave and go, what's the matter? No, give me a hug, it's fine, talk about it. And when a woman's upset, the man will leave her alone thinking that she needs space. And it's fascinating. It's a really good lesson to learn that.
Just give her chocolate next time.
Yeah, exactly. Give her chocolate. That'll work.
Give her chocolate, then abandon her.
Yeah, at least she'll have chocolate.
Drink the wine yourself and give her a slab of
dairy milk.
Yes. Most of us know that some youngsters can be extremely picky when it comes to food, but fussy eating among children is down to genes and not bad parenting. Any experiences of fussy eaters, either yourself or a sibling or a child, or have you come across fussy eaters? Customers. Yes.
I'm guilty of nearly always blaming the parents for kids being fussy eaters.
Yeah,
I think it's
before.
A bit harsh.
Yeah,
because I think generally you are born with certain tastes and you don't acquire everything.
I think you're born with things that you don't like, but a lot of fussy eating is you've never even tried it.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like
just decide you don't
eat those green trees. No, I don't like them. I've never had broccoli before.
Yeah.
Give it a go.
Or you try it. You see kids all the time, the parents kind of making them try it, and they've already got their face screwed up before putting the food in. Yeah. So they've told their brain that this is going to be horrible. So that they'll stick their tongue out a tiny bit and they'll put it. No, I don't like it. And they literally haven't properly tasted it.
Yeah. I think it probably does come from childhood as well, because I've got a friend who's sort of my age, and his mother used to cut his crusts off his bread and do all this sort of stuff, and now he's just so picky. If there's anything remotely healthy on his plate, it's like, I can't eat that rubbish.
Wow.
It's like, so it's come from a childhood thing, I'm sure.
I know an older gentleman who only eats fish finger sandwiches.
No.
Yeah.
Only that.
Yeah.
How would you not get bored of only having the same thing all the time?
You must love them.
I'm seriously hungry now you mention it.
Yeah, I fancy one myself, but not only that for the rest of my life.
Bev's got an uncle, steak and chips is the only thing he'll eat. No green, no red, nothing. Got perfect cholesterol. His wife's a consultant for the NHS.
No way.
And he has cholesterol tests all the time. He's got he's just, that's all he eats. He eats red meat and chips. He's had that all his life. He's must be mid-70s, getting on nearly.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's and I said, how boring. But he's the easiest man to come on holiday. You can always get him a dinner when you go out.
He'll regret it when he's 80.
Well, but he's had a good life.
Oh, it's bizarre. I remember a friend of mine. So this is when I find it fascinating when you've got a family, you've got siblings, and only one of them's a picky eater. The rest of them's absolutely fine. And I remember one of my friend's brothers. He never wanted any food to touch any of the other food. So the parents bought him one of those dinner plates that we used to have at school for school dinners that's in sections. So the beans would be in one section, the fish fingers in another section, the chips in another section. Because if the baked beans has made any of the food soggy, he couldn't have it. And I just used to think, well, the fact that she's sort of accommodating him in such a way, you'd assume that he'd kind of grow up to be like that. I don't know. Right. It seemed a bit excessive to me.
Nature or nurture?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And I guess it's a bit of both.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, we're going to get controversial now. Let's take a break so we can brace ourselves.
Hannah Murray on TRE in the afternoon.
Good afternoon. You're listening to Men Talk with me in the studio today, Jamie Stone-Hewer, Steve Holmes and Ben Kavanagh. So there's an article here about Philip Schofield. The headline reads, will Philip Schofield's bid to rescue his reputation lead his devastated former lover to break his silence? So Philip Schofield is going to be back on television, a show called Castaway, where he's, I don't know if he's presenting it or taking part, it's not particularly clear, but he's on a desert island and he's described it as... he said that Castaway is his story of survival, both on a desert island and off it. There's been a lot of backlash. Some television insiders have said that it's one big pity party, this show. Other people are furious. Other people say it's outrageous to give him a platform. So just to kind of clarify and go over what he did or didn't do, he was in a relationship with a much younger man who was working at the TV station, wasn't he? Mm-hmm. So not long before that came out, he came, I don't know how, I can't remember the time difference, but he came out that he was gay, and everyone loved him, didn't they? Everyone, you know, really felt for the wife, but the wife was sitting next to him and was really supportive, and everyone just kind of said, oh, what a brave man, and this is wonderful, and he was really kind of accepted by not just his colleagues, but also the public. Everyone thought it was a really wonderful thing, brave thing to do. And then it wasn't long after that when it came out that he'd been having an affair with a much younger man. So he didn't do anything illegal. He didn't abuse this guy. It was a consensual relationship. But people were sort of up in arms that he lied about it, basically. But it was a huge scandal, wasn't it? It was massive, like all over the papers, all over the TV, as if he was like the worst man in the world.
It was ultra honest coming out on the show, actually, and with all his friends around him, and etc., etc. But then he was very deceitful that he let all these friends down and didn't sort of communicate what he was doing privately.
Yeah.
Such
high profile.
It upset so many people, especially the higher producers at, I think it was Good Morning Britain or whatever it was on. So it's very difficult for them to sort of condone what happened. So he had to go.
Yeah.
And his timing was a bit strange because he came out publicly, all of that, and then he must have known before that there was a case against him inside ITV.
Yeah.
And it just seems to happen in all television stations. It doesn't matter which television station. These people, there's lots of stuff been going on for years in all these types of businesses. And I think it's quite ironic they've cast him away on an island in the desert.
He's actually on the island on his own. With a handheld camera.
So they just don't go and pick him up.
Yeah, so he's not got a crew with him or anything. He's just on his own.
So if they leave him there, we'll know how everyone reacts.
Yeah. So how do you feel? How do you feel about him being back on television then?
You haven't got to watch it.
Well, no, quite.
It's
no, you don't have to watch it, but you wonder why somebody with he obviously doesn't need the money. Why would you put through it? Why would you open your heart out again to 3 million people or whatever? How many people watch it when you actually don't need to? You've disappeared into the background and suddenly
he's probably missing it. He's probably he was at the top of his game, at the top of his career. Everybody loved him, and it went from there to everyone not liking him. So he's probably trying to clamber back some kind of career, I guess.
I feel like he's kind of testing the waters a little bit, because this is kind of his first foray back, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not like he's Channel coming back 5 to do Dancing on Ice or anything.
Yeah, I mean, if you remember Noel Edmonds coming back when The Weakest Link, not The Weakest Link, what was the other one?
House Party and all that.
Deal or No Deal.
Deal or No Deal, yeah.
And he came back, and it wasn't the same circumstances, but it's almost like there is like a a redemption arc that is possible. So maybe he's just hoping that he can get a little bit of a
life after death on TV.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But someone's paid him to make a show. So,
Oh, yeah.
I mean, so the TV people think there must be a viewing audience, even though it's only Channel 5. He's still getting... It'd be a substantial amount of money to bring him back.
That'd be a massive audience now, won't it? You know, it's in every paper, and it's not, I don't know when it's due to air, but it's not out at the moment, so...
Yeah, I reckon a lot of people will be fascinated to watch it, which is probably why they've done it. But then there will definitely be people who will watch it and will rip him apart on social media, because that's what people do, unfortunately. You know, instead of thinking, like you said, Ben, you don't have to watch it, you know, people will watch it and say, oh, what's this guy doing? And the pity party side of things, you know, who cares? And it's like, well, you're watching it, so you obviously do care. It's a weird one. I just think it makes me kind of sad in how the media can just like take you down and then give you an opportunity for the public to take you down again. You know, it's so fickle, isn't it?
It's the deal with the devil.
Yeah,
really
exactly. Okay. This is a very serious message, this one, because this has been happening a lot here as well, talking about bank scams or scams in general. Former BBC News presenter Moira Stewart has revealed that she nearly fell victim to a sophisticated bank scam. She's 75. She received a 9 a.m. phone call from people that said they were from her bank, and the caller said that someone had removed her money in collusion with staff at her local branch. She was told to go to another bank to sort out the problem, with the caller remaining on the phone so he could tell her what to say. He said, we're going to send this amount of money from your account and see what happens. She was still on the phone when she got to the bank, and a cashier took her to one side to say that it really didn't sound right. And then she was put in front of the bank's anti-fraud team, who confirmed that the call was a scam. It makes me so sad, these scams, you know, particularly targeting older people. I was speaking to a friend the other day who had a message about something, you know, click this link, and, you know, you get a message. I've had loads of them saying that they're from reputable companies like the post office or the tax office or Amazon, even, you know, sites that you use and have interaction with. So it makes you think, oh, it must be legitimate. Don't click on links.
Well, yeah.
No, just don't, No.
I mean, if you get the text going around at the moment from the DGT, the Department of Traffic, saying you've got a fine.
Yeah.
So people panic. Oh, I've got a fine, because you're not going to know if you've got a speeding fine until it arrives in the post. Yeah. So you click on it, but the DVT, if you go to their website, says, we do not have your phone numbers. We do not send text messages. Yeah. So, and imagine if all these companies had your phone numbers, they'd all be on the phone to you all day long. So I try and ignore all text. I'm waiting for a package which has gone missing. So I got one of those Correos. You need to send us 24 cents. Yep. And I was filling it in. I thought, no, it's not coming from Correos. It's coming from another delivery company. So I was like 20 minutes into the filling this form. I thought, no, because I'm actually waiting for something.
Exactly,
and it's
that's happened to me. I've been waiting for parcels, and then it says
that's why they go. But Moira Stewart seems to me to be a very intelligent woman. She was chief for news thing, and doesn't she work with Esther Ranson on the programme about sort of consumer stuff?
That's
so for her to get pulled in,
exactly,
it's and she's generally talking on TV about looking after yourself and stuff. So they're very clever.
Thing is, you're not always alert to it, though. You open your emails in the morning and you're sort of flicking through and click this link, and you haven't thought about it.
Yeah, it's so easily done.
Yeah. You're thinking about something else, and then you're just in that half-heart. Oh
yeah.
And again, it's technology, isn't it? Because it's a lot of things which are like red flags or common sense in the technological world that maybe a lot of people over a certain age haven't really caught on with, whereas younger people might be sort of, you see, like I said, like a red flag, like this link doesn't look like a proper link, or hang on a sec, where do they get my phone number from, or this isn't how they normally communicate with me. And it's just, they're things that you don't really think about unless you've conditioned yourself to it.
And something you can do before ever clicking on a link, or before filling in forms or following instructions for anything like that, Google it. You know, if you literally type into Google, I've just had a text message from Correos saying, well, is this a scam? Or literally ask the question that you would want to ask a human. You can literally type the whole thing into Google, and you'll get stuff coming up. No, this is a scam. It's really prevalent at the moment. All the information is there. So anything people aren't sure of, you can literally ask Google.
And of course, back in the day, old Moira, she could probably call the bank and speak to someone by name and go, can I check with what's the face to make sure this isn't? But nowadays, that's
you can't.
it's a fantasy.
But they get you because, this is happening now. Money is leaving your account now. You need to do this now, and that's when people panic. And but like you say, no banks are ringing anyone. There's no one to ring anybody anyway. The other thing you can do is Google phone numbers. My friend said Google a number because I get so many calls because I have an emergency helpline for my job. And when it rings, I have to answer it. So I'm working and I'm answering it, and people are trying to sell me all sorts of stuff. So if I Google the number, and it's like, oh no, this has been reported 120 times in the last month, so just block it. And they can never ring you again. Because I can't block numbers in case it's someone in trouble. So
yes, you have to answer it just in case.
I have to answer it, So, and it's you can Google or any other search engines available, but and phone numbers. I never thought of doing that for a phone number. And my friend said, just Google a number, and it just comes up straight away if people have got problems. Because there's lots of people with
obviously,
more time.
if it is a bank or a post office, that will come up.
It will come up there. This number belongs to this company. So but there's got to be money in it, otherwise people there wouldn't be rooms full of people doing this to people. So and people don't report when they've been scammed because they're embarrassed. And that's a big problem with these sort of crimes. It's little bits of money every day off people, and then it's someone making money and people don't report it.
There was one, I read it out the other day on the news, that's happened here in Spain, different parts of the country, not the south of Spain, with Brad Pitt, not Brad Pitt himself, but people posing as Brad Pitt on a Brad Pitt fan site contacted 3 women, different parts of Spain, saying that Brad Pitt wanted to invest with them. And one woman 170 grand, another woman 150 grand. I mean, unbelievable amounts of money because they thought Brad Pitt wanted to invest. And you just think, oh no, poor women, silly women. Why would they think that? You just have to be. I mean, I don't know what the message said, but it came through a Brad Pitt, or supposed Brad Pitt fan site, and they were contacted. I mean, they must have been really good to have got that sort of money out of these poor women. Terrible. Okay, we better take a break.
Hannah Murray, TRE in the afternoon.
Good afternoon. You're listening to Men Talk with me in the studio today, Jamie Stonehewer, Steve Holmes and Ben Kavanagh. Grey hair. This headline reads, half of women spot their first grey hair in their early 30s. Apparently it's happening earlier than you would expect. I was going to save this till next week for Women Talk because it's about women and grey hair, and then I thought, no, I'm going to ask the men their thoughts on grey hair. If and when you notice grey hairs, whether it bothered you in the slightest, if you know whether it sort of happened to you earlier or later than maybe your parents, all that kind of thing.
Well, it happened to me fairly early. To sort of 28, 30, something like that. I started getting grey streaks at the front. And then it just started to spread.
And did it bother you?
Not really, no. I had one little period of maybe putting a little bit of tint in the front and stuff, that went cherry red, so that was you can imagine the stick I got for that one.
Yes.
So no, I'd let it go and that was it. It's fine. No problem.
Nice.
So it's still good. I still get black hair in my ears, but not on my head, so don't know why.
I'd never, I can't even think really what colour hair my wife has. A natural colour.
Because when
I first dated her, it was a different colour every date because her brother was a hairdresser.
Oh, really?
She was a brunette, then she was jet black, and then she was white peroxide.
Wow, amazing.
My mother used to spend a lot of time in the hairdressers as well, so I don't think grey hairs were ever a problem in the women in my life growing up.
Yeah.
My grandma had lovely white hair. So,
my grandparents all had white hair. Well, actually, the women more than the men. Yeah.
What I was going to say is, just discussing women going grey and do you notice it and does it matter in that? Is it not that we wouldn't notice that much because
the men?
Apart from that, but just they're always. Women do tend to dye their hair in various different degrees, and would you even spot a grey? I mean,
I would, but I wouldn't mention it.
Well, no, it might be the last thing. Might be the last thing you ever noticed.
That's it. Yeah.
And what about yourself?
What? Dyeing my hair?
Yeah, how you feel about going grey and if and when it happened and
Well, I think
all
it's
that kind of...
quite I quite like my Malin streak.
Yeah.
People keep asking me if I've had it done, which is quite annoying. No, I wouldn't go and waste time and money getting a big grey blob stuck on the top of my head.
No.
So,
but your quiet hair doesn't bother you at all?
No, not at all.
No.
I used to have highlights. I went for a stage of having highlights, but that never really...
I was with a friend the other day who's probably in her 40s, I'd say, mid-40s, who's a hairdresser, interestingly, and I said she's normally blonde, and I said, I love your hair, it looks amazing. It was a real kind of ashy blonde, and I assumed she dyed it ash blonde, and she said, no, I've let it go natural, and it was more grey.
Wow.
But it looked like the colour that women do pay to dye, and I've said that to a few women in the last few years, saying, I love what you've done with your hair, assuming that they've dyed it that colour, but they've gone natural. So, I think if you're happy to embrace it, because there's some beautiful colours out there that people are spending money to.
It's quite trendy for ladies now to let the hair go silver. I mean, there is obviously a little bit of work goes into it, but it's a lot of natural.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, but it's more a helping hand than a complete deception, isn't it? It's more like. Yeah, I'm embracing what I've got, but I might just need a little bit of help just to smooth the rough edges a little bit.
Yeah.
But I have never seen a man who dyes his hair who looks better than just letting himself go natural.
It's funny.
Because it's terrible.
I've never seen a man dye his hair, then I would have said.
No, I've never seen a man dye his hair who looks better than he does if he was just naturally whatever his hair was doing.
You can tell, can't you? Often.
Is it a product difference or is it a technique difference? We're not as
not used to it. It's weird, isn't it?
It does vary from week to week when you do see these people.
Yeah, you'd know. You would. If a woman changed the colour of her hair, you wouldn't bat an eyelid, would you? You'd think, like what you've done with your hair, if she went kind of copper or darker or whatever. Whereas if a man did it, you'd be like, what have you done? You'd really notice it.
But I do like the silver fox look on ladies. When they've just, I've had a few friends over the years, and you see them and like, wow, your hair looks fantastic, and I've let it go, and it's like, they're free. They're not spending 2.5 hours in a hairdryer.
Not gone the full Patti Smith, have they? There's a bit of work gone into it.
But they like to tell you that.
I just think, with all these, that whatever makes you comfortable. If you're not comfortable, then you can do something, because we do have access to do things about it. But if not, then great.
Try to worry as little as possible about what others think about it.
Yeah,
well, none of us have got jet black hair. Lots of men with jet black hair are permanently painting a bit on the front, I'd imagine.
Can I just say it's easy for you to say, Ben, at your age.
Yeah.
No, but my husband's a quite kind of, I don't want to say self-conscious, but he doesn't like that he's got grey hairs and things, and I don't mind it at all, and I'll compliment him, but he'll go, oh no, like he doesn't like it. Mm-hmm. And he's talked about dyeing it.
Perhaps he needs a chocolate.
Yes, I'll get him some chocolate. Exactly, I'll get him some chocolate. But yeah, I think it's fine. Okay. Oh, this I thought was bizarre. 2/3 of us consider ourselves a risk taker, despite only taking chances on the tiniest things. So when I read that, I thought risk taker, and I was thinking, jumping out of planes and, doing kind of scary stuff. But then I read the article, which is quite hilarious. Life's top little risks include eating something past its sell-by date, leaving the house with low phone battery, and not taking an umbrella out on a grey day. That goes on to say others, running from the shower to another room to grab a towel, having a cup of coffee before bed, I do that every night, and putting the washing on the line without checking the weather. I do that all the time. How do you feel about risk-taking?
We did pick up on that article and said, well, they're not really risks. None of those are risks, are they?
Sort of a Theresa May thing, that, isn't it? Where riskiest thing she did was run through a cornfield or something.
Yes.
Is this how low the bar's been set? Have we gone so soft?
So, okay, forget about the things mentioned then. How you would perceive risk. Do you think you're a risk taker?
I think the older I get, no. I'm less risky the older I get.
Yeah.
I'm a lot more careful with my ladder than I used to be.
Okay.
I used to run up ladders and roofs all the time now.
Yeah.
No. I take less risks.
Okay, that makes sense.
But yeah, some of those risks, and that was also sponsored by a gambling company, that article. So I mean, they just want you to do more risk and a risk on a pony and risk your money.
Yes.
But yeah, no, and no, I'd take us and running a yellow light. That's not really a risk, is it? I mean, that's just someone in a rush. But I mean, yeah, running a red light's a risk. Which
I think to put that one about running naked to go and grab a towel whilst making a cup of coffee and hanging the washing out.
Now you're talking.
Yeah. Exactly. I mean, what's the risk of running to get a towel? Risk that someone will see you? The risk, I mean, I don't know. You'll see yourself in the mirror?
Slip over and hurt yourself.
Oh, I suppose if you've still got wet feet.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a risk assessment, man.
Yeah, there you go.
Yes, there you go.
There's a whole industry on risk assessment.
Yeah.
A friend of mine's friend, his brother-in-law, he gets paid by football clubs £1,000 a match to go and walk around the ground and do risk assessment before the match.
What kind of risks?
Well, so I asked this question, and then one of the answers was, he went the other week, I think it was to Everton, and he went around and said, remove all the dustbins. And they said, well, why? We want the dustbins for anyone who leaves the ground, they put the rubbish in. He said, yeah, but terrorists could put bombs in. Oh, we hadn't thought of that. And you think in this day and age, and he gets tickets for the match, and he gets paid to go and stay in a hotel, and he does this as a living. And he doesn't even like football.
How funny.
Which his brother-in-law found was quite funny. But yeah, so the risk assessment's a big thing. And what's now a risk? You see these kids on these little scooters weaving in and out of traffic. And I'm like, oh, because I'm driving a car. But I was like that on the bicycle. I was like that on a skateboard at one stage, probably.
I do think those scooters are ridiculously risky. There isn't a place for them. They shouldn't be on the road, and they shouldn't be on pavement. So where are they supposed to be?
You don't see them wandering around with broken arms and they're taking risks all the time. They're just hoping that someone in the car's seen them. And so it's.
I think you do see more in Spain of
the scooters.
Scooters and stuff, but also like even the guys doing the barriers on the motorway. You know, they'll close a 100-metre section, and the cars are whizzing by. In the UK, the motorway will be closed.
A month in advance.
Nobody's working there anyway, but the motorway will be closed, and that's it. You know, the risk assessments here don't seem. They assume here, I think, that everybody knows what they're doing. So, maybe.
Which they really don't.
I find it really interesting culturally, actually, because, like you said, in the UK, it's a miles difference. I mean, I worked at a hardware store for a year or something in the UK, and you had to do whole courses on safety and first aid, and you know, it's like hard hats and you know, what do you call it, barriers, like. And here it's just let's just do it. It's
just hang out the window and paint the wall.
And just tell someone to tell the pedestrians to walk around that way, and that was it.
Yeah, it's very different. Okay, let's take another break.
Hannah Murray, TRE in the afternoon.
Good afternoon. You're listening to the last part of today's Men Talk. With me in the studio today, Jamie Stonehewer, Steve Holmes and Ben Kavanagh. Okay, this article I found this week. Bride and groom charge guests £2,000 to attend their wedding, and drinks aren't included. People had to pay for food and drink, as well as a £200 tip they were asked to pay. It took place in the UK. The lead up to the wedding, guests received an email thanking them for their RSVP. So you had to reply first saying that you were going. Then, at the bottom of the correspondence, there was a link that asked people to click here for payment. People assumed it was a joke. Some people assumed that it was, putting money towards their honeymoon, things like that. But no, it was £2,000 to go to the wedding. But then you had to pay for food. So you were basically paying for the venue and all the other stuff. This couple had said, they wanted their dream wedding. So there were loads of flowers. There was, it was a big full-on wedding that everybody was paying for. It's just unbelievable.
We've entered a very weird time in terms of donation and people willing to give money for nothing, aren't they? Haven't we? Like, it's a really big thing now with social media and everything, where people are asking for money just for nothing, just because, hey, it's me. Yeah. And it's kind of an extension of that, isn't it? It's kind of like they're going.
It's nuts.
You wouldn't even respond to that, would you? I mean, let's be fair. I'm sorry, I'm busy that weekend.
Yeah,
but you got the RSVP, you got the invite first, I guess. Did you say? Yes, that makes it difficult, doesn't it?
But what if it's someone you really like? I mean, it's easy if it's someone you don't or barely know to say no. But if it's like family or a really good friend, I mean, that would be really tricky, wouldn't it?
And also, God forbid, like you pay it, and then you find out, or anyone finds out that somebody didn't have to pay.
Yes, exactly.
Because it's like, for whatever reason.
Yeah.
It's
just awful. Really awful.
Yeah, I wouldn't go. I just wouldn't go on principle. I don't care if it was my best friend's daughter or whatever. I'd say no. I'm sorry. It's just,
I think if
ridiculous.
anybody was doing that, they wouldn't be your best friend, would they?
No, quite. You can't imagine being really good friends with people who would do that.
I bet they're not still married.
No, I don't know.
Do you get a refund if you get divorced or something?
Well, yeah, do you get your money back for? And what sort of meal are you going to have for that money? I mean, it's like.
But that's the other thing, isn't it? Doesn't the quality of the wedding now depend on how many people actually pay?
Yeah.
Like, because you want your dream wedding, but that's based on X amount of people paying. What if one person pays?
Your mum, here's £2,000, love. I'm coming to your wedding, and nobody else pays. Oh, it's true.
When we got married, we could afford 45 people in a pub.
Yeah.
And we had roast beef and Yorkshire pudding.
Nice.
And then we had a disco in the pub, and that's what we could afford, and that's what we did.
Yeah.
So, and we're still married. I mean, I don't. Why do these people need these massive?
I know.
We're not all Hollywood A-listers with bottomless pockets, are we? I mean, people have lovely weddings here, and it doesn't cost them that much money. They spend a lot of money on flowers. They spend a bit of money on a venue. Their guests have to spend money flying here, going to hotels and stuff like that. But I've got friends, with florists, and then they're doing hundreds of weddings. September's weddings, boom, 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 back to back along the Costa del Sol. And you don't need to spend that much money to have a nice wedding. If it's a couple you like getting married, and then people will give them more money towards a honeymoon or whatever. To me, that's just an attention-grabbing thing. And it's sad that they've sent out invitations and people have replied. Then they've sent them what it's going to cost them to go. A wedding, most people buy a suit for a wedding. Women buy dresses. It costs you money to go to a wedding anyway.
Definitely.
They don't have to pay to go.
Yeah.
It's an event, isn't it? So it's I don't know really.
I remember having feeling really uncomfortable discussing ahead of our wedding whether it was appropriate that people drinks were included throughout pretty much the whole thing, but then towards the end, if people wanted to get other drinks from the bar, like spirits and things like that, then eventually we, after much deliberation and speaking to loads of different people about it and getting advice and things, we deemed that, people did have to pay to get their own drinks towards the end of the night, because we had like 135 people and it got quite scary working out, okay, well, if people went all free bar and everyone's ordering gin and tonics and stuff like that, we worked out that the amount of money that it could be on top was kind of scaring us a bit, that suddenly at the end of the night you could get a bill for another 15 grand on top or something.
Well, especially when people get really sozzled, like they order drinks and they don't need them.
Exactly. Imagine I'd be going around finishing everyone's drinks. Don't waste it. Don't waste it. Exactly.
I think that's pretty fair, actually. I think, you have a drinks menu or whatever with red wine, white wine, and anything after that you pay for, and that's fair enough.
Yeah, I've been to quite a few weddings, not just weddings but parties, like big 50th birthday, 60th, whatever the kind of, and that's quite a normal thing, I think, which is all right. But no, not paying to go to the actual wedding.
$2 grand.
Oh, madness. Okay. This is a kind of weird one to talk about. I don't expect you to talk about it from your own point of view, because that would be very weird, but just your opinion of other people doing this. Women in their 60s see no need to remarry. So this is obviously from a female point of view, but they're kind of talking about either if their husband has died or if they've got divorced in later life, the idea of not wanting to remarry when this woman in the article is 68. Happy to find a new partner and find happiness with someone else, but don't like the idea or understand the point of getting married again in later life. How do we feel about that? As I said, you don't need to put yourselves in that situation, because I know I'll marry again, no problem. I don't expect you to say that. In fact, don't say that.
I was watching a little bit on the news today with Joan Collins, who's several wives, and obviously an elderly lady now, still looks good, but getting married again just seems a normal thing for the celebrity. To get married. But I think if you get to that age, maybe you just want your own space and be happy to go out with somebody, but back to your own space later. I don't know.
Yeah.
So maybe it's just a tax planning and stuff like that,
Yeah.
Inheritance tax, get married and you don't pay it. So
yeah, exactly. There's lots of kind of financial reasons to do it, but then I suppose depending on different things, there'll be financial reasons maybe not to do it as well, won't there? There's lots of kind of...
I can understand the idea of, as you get older and you've been through the whole marriage thing, getting married, being married for a long time, experiencing married life, having a family, and then having that sort of be behind you. I can totally understand why you wouldn't want to do it again.
Yeah.
You're almost like, I don't want to bother doing that again, because it was a lot of hassle, and I'm happy now.
Or it was wonderful and there's no need to try and replicate it. Either way.
Take it however way.
But I think that article was written in the sense that the woman's like she's happy with herself at that sort of age, and she doesn't feel a need to get married again.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's a lot of men, I'd imagine, feel a need to have a wife to do a lot of things for them, whereas a woman generally looks after herself. Most of the kids have gone at that age, aren't they? The grandchildren are coming up, so to get married again would be probably a bigger thing than not getting married again.
Yeah, exactly.
But I've got elderly lady friends, ladies of a certain age down here would love to be dating, but they find it virtually impossible. I don't know if they're going to get married again, but they find it very difficult here.
Yeah.
To meet a life partner. Yeah.
There's a loneliness factor as well, isn't there, I guess?
Yeah.
So, if you're not a lonely person, why would you bother getting married again? But some people want the companionship.
I do find it does make me go, "Aw," when I read a story though about like a couple in their 80s who have got married. It's always a really romantic kind of. I always think, "Oh, how lovely!" Why not?
And they charge everyone $3,000 to go.
Yeah.
They met at school when they were 15, and now they met again.
Yes,
when they're 18.
exactly. They've both been with other people,
Yeah.
had their kids, had their grandkids, and then they
read the same book as you, Hannah.
It's lovely, isn't it?
But maybe they just want to share a room in the old people's home. It's cheaper.
Yeah, you never know.
I think men look for companionship more than women do. A man would look for someone to look after him and cook and clean and all that. I know.
That's general.
I'm saying generalising, but I think you'll find that that's when really what happens. It's not changed that much yet. It will do, but
we haven't got enough time, Jamie. Don't go.
No. I was just checking we're nearly done, so I thought I could slip that one in. The phone's ringing really hot. No, but I'm not one of those men. I do my fair share, but there are a lot of men.
I'm not one of those women either. My husband does all the cooking.
Well, exactly. Things are changing, but they're maybe not as quick as. Most 68-year-old ladies have had to do that at some stage because that's what they were growing up with.
Yeah.
So if you're going to go and interview a load of 68-year-old ladies, they're thinking, they're going to get married and do all that again. No,
absolutely.
Yeah, they haven't.
But it's funny. It could go either way. If the woman has been like that, looking after her husband for that many years, some women will think, I definitely don't want to do that again. But some women will miss doing that and will look for another partner to look after. It could go either way, couldn't it?
It could.
Day-to-day routine is always a big
exactly.
thing.
If they're used to it and enjoy cooking for someone and enjoy, whatever it may be, they might, really want to do that again, as opposed to thinking, yay, I'm free, I don't need to do that anymore. They might actively seek it out. Everyone's different, I suppose. Thank goodness. Okay, we have 3 minutes left. We can talk about a British schoolchild who's been officially allowed to identify as a wolf.
Don't go there.
I mean, it's just... So the article started by saying the secondary school pupil is said to suffer from species dysphoria, there we go, which is when someone claims their body belongs to a different species. But then as the article goes on, a clinical neuropsychologist says there is no such condition in science as species dysmorphia. It's not surprising that we're seeing this in an age where many people want to identify as something other than they are. I mean, it's just madness. If this happened 40 years ago when I was at school, you'd just be laughed out of the classroom. The teacher would say, don't be so ridiculous, get on with...
Expelled.
Whatever.
No.
Yeah.
But to be a teacher today is horrendous. A friend of mine has retired early from being a teacher in New York because he could not get on with pronouns. The kids just play a game. Every day they're a different sex.
Oh, really?
And then they're using the gender fluid toilet, which is 3 floors down, so they'd leave the class with 20 minutes gone and then come back and say, where have you been? I went to the gender fluid clinic toilet today, because today I'm identifying as a wolf. No, I mean, what toilet are you going to use? I don't know, I'm a wolf. I mean,
a lamppost.
What's next? And to be a teacher is very difficult.
If you genuinely identify as a wolf, then you need to be tied up on a post outside.
Yes, quite.
Or in a zoo.
It's too
Like, you
dangerous
take
to
the
be
whole
in the
take the
school.
whole thing. Don't just choose it and say, because it makes it obvious it's completely frivolous, because it's like Jamie correctly said, the kids are just playing now at this point.
Yeah.
Like, kids are not as stupid as they were. Like, the kids are very switched on to these things.
The governments are allowing them to do it.
Exactly. The door's been opened wide for them.
Kids will always find the weakest link, won't they?
Yeah, absolutely.
We had it in your class, our class, or whatever.
Yeah.
There's always one teacher or whatever that you could play up to.
Yeah.
And this is just taking it to another level.
It's just unreal, isn't it? I don't understand why this has been allowed to happen. You know, the teachers just don't be ridiculous. I mean, it's madness. It's one thing for adults to not identify as wolves, but I mean, to make adult choices when they're adults. But as children, it's a wolf. I mean, there was one the other day about a cat and, children wanting to come to school with ears and a tail and all that. I mean, no, it's not fancy dress. There's your school uniform. That's what you need to wear.
Not anymore. You
No
can't say
argument.
that anymore. No.
I think there's a bit of sense coming into it now in the UK, because it was on the news today that a school were banning mobile phones in school for anybody under 14.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, it is sort of getting a little bit
brilliant.
reversed now, in some ways, I guess.
Yeah.
It will correct itself. It's just this wave at the moment, this current
wave of stupidness. Oh dear. Well, thank you all very much for coming in today. Thank you to Jamie, thank you to Steve, and thank you to Ben.
Thank you, Hannah.
Coming up after the news is Howard Brereton with Spain Today, so don't go anywhere. And I will not be back on Monday. I'm actually off on Monday, so Giles will be looking after you, doing TRE in the afternoon from 4 o'clock on Monday. He's looking forward to doing the sport with Mark, and I will be back on Tuesday at 4 o'clock, so an elongated weekend for me. Have a good one, and I'll be back with you on Tuesday at 4. Howard is next.
You've been listening to a TRE production. If you've enjoyed this programme, there'll be another episode waiting for you next week, right here on this platform, where you can also access our extensive back catalogue of shows and interviews. For more information on our live programming, social media channels and apps, and how to contact Talk Radio Europe, please visit tre.radio.